In this tutorial, I'll show you what it means to use compound groups as well as offsetting paths. So first, compound paths. If I have my objects and pretend I am creating some sort of open packaging net, but pretend I'm just wanting to use all these objects to create one object, I can go to the Pathfinder tool and click on Unite. So long as all my objects are touching each other, it creates its own object. I can do it for this, and it creates all one object. I can do the same thing for this, but what actually happens with this is I can ungroup this, and I can still take its individual paths. But if I convert this into a compound path, I actually can't ungroup this. You may be asking why that actually is so and why it makes a difference. Good question. I'll demonstrate using this example. Say this is what we actually want to do, but we've started out like this. Because these blades aren't actually touching each other, if I create a group of it, or if I unite them together, I will just hide this as well. If I try and unite them together, it unites them. It's created essentially a group out of it, but I can still ungroup it, and it doesn't really do what I want it to do. And given the fact that I'm trying to actually cut this shape out of all these, I actually need all these to be one particular group. Now I can't just group it and then try and minus the front from it. Illustrator won't like that. If I try it now, it'll only do one. So how do we do things? We've actually got to go and select our objects, click on compound path make, and it treats it as one object that cannot be ungrouped. And so now if I select my top object and now my bottom object and cut that out, I can do that, and that's amazing. So compound groups. You want to work with compound groups if you need to use the Pathfinder and if you need objects to stay together. So let's say you've created a logo and you don't want people to be able to go, oh, I can ungroup things now and I can pull things apart. If you don't want them to be able to do that, you want to go to compound path make, and it is now its own object and you cannot ungroup it. You can still change things by entering isolation mode and moving things around there, but by the time you get out of isolation mode, you can't actually ungroup it. So there are workarounds, but know that that's what you need to do. You need to make sure that you've got compound groups. Okay, so compound groups done. Offsetting. How did I do this? Well, an easy way after I have got my, well, let's say if I copy this, an easy way would be to just copy it, scale it down, eyedropper tool, and do that. I want to show you another way though, and that is using the offset tool by going object, path, offset path, turn on preview, and it shows you how much it's offsetting it by. So let's say 1 millimeter, or I can go -1 millimeter, -2 millimeters, doesn't matter. I'm just going to go 1 millimeter and offset that and go OK. It keeps the selection of the object that I've made. I just moved it for purposes. Looks like my battery may die. And once I've selected the blades as well, and I click minus front, it cuts it out. All I've got to do now is go to the eyedropper tool. Offsetting is really useful, and you'll see a lot of logos, a lot of cool type effects, typography and lettering, and they use that offset quite a lot. So let's say if I've got fine impact, I'll use impact just for argument's sake. Let's blow that up nice and big. I'll create outlines of it, and let's go path, offset path, turn on preview. I'll go 1. I will join that, send it to the back. I will change, well, ungroup things. Let's create a compound path of this, give it a different color, use the back. Okay, people have done that. In the past, you may have thought that, oh well, I could just change this to be a black stroke. Sure, you can do that. This is another way of doing things, and I'll demonstrate that further. Object path, offset path. Let's say I want to go minus 0.5. Going to go white. I want to say copy this, paste this in front. I'm just going to move this a little bit and select the back, minus that. So, I mean, cheesy as it is, I have created, look, maybe I might soften this by doing a bit of that action. I have been able to create this quick type effect by creating text, outlining it, offsetting the path to the back to make this black area, offsetting it to a negative 0.5 mil to make it go in, copying, pasting that, moving it, and then minusing it from the front. And I have successfully created some amazing type effect using a crap font. Never use this font. So there you have it. Offsetting as well as compound groups.